Welcome to DRCJ online classes, digital initiative by Vardey Director School Education Jammu. Today our topic is one beautiful poem of class 9 to the cuckoo, and this poem had been taken from your book Tulip series of English, which is included in our J.K. Bose syllabus. This poem had been written by a famous English poet, William Wordsworth. Who is William Wordsworth? William Wordsworth was one of the founders of English Romanticism and one of its most central figures and more important intellects. He is remembered as a poet of spiritual and epistemological speculation, a poet concerned with the human relationship to nature, and a fierce advocate of using. So, this poet, as we come to know, that he is very that concerned with human relationship with the nature to nature. So today our poem is also his love for the nature, his love for the bird cuckoo. Let's discuss some of the learning objectives of this poem. At the end of this session, our learners will be able to recall the features of persona voice in the poetry. Our learners will be able tells the tone and theme in the poetry, to know some poetic devices like alliteration, rhyme scheme, hyperbole and imagery used in this poem. At the end of this session, our learners will be able to list and explain the figures of speech used in this poem, tells the features of different types of lyric poetry. So let's discuss. Yes, no. So before we will discuss the verse by verse all 8 stanzas of this poem. First of all, we will have one that reading of this whole poem. O blithe newcomer, I hear thee and rejoice. O cuckoo, I call thee bird. I call thee bird, or wandering voice. While I am laying on the grass, thigh to fold shout I hear. From hill to hill it seems to pass, at once far off and near. Thou babbling only to the vale of sunshine and the flowers, thou bringest into me a tale of visionary hours. Thrice welcome, darling of the spring. Even yet thou art to me no bird, but an invisible thing, a voice, a mystery. The same whom in my schoolboy days I listened to that cry, which made me look 1,000 ways in bush and tree and sky. To seek thee did I often rove through woods and on the green, and thou that still a hope allow, still longed for never seen, and I can listen to thee yet, can lie upon the plain and listen till I do beget that golden time again. O blessed bird, the earth we pass again appears to be an unsubstantial fairy place that is fit home for thee. So this is 8 stanza poem. So let's start. Let's discuss that verse by verse. So, O blithe newcomer, I have heard. When we look at this first line, that O blithe newcomer, there is sign of exclamation. That this is something which came out from his when we use exclamation, when there is sudden expression of thoughts, so it came out from his mouth when he heard his voice, the voice of this cuckoo. O blithe newcomer. Blithe here means O blithe, O cheerful newcomer. Why he had used here word newcomer? Newcomer means here because this bird often migrate from one place to another place, but during spring it shifted. It migrate to a place where there is a spring. So during spring it came to in that place. So that is why he had used here newcomer, because during spring season this bird, this cuckoo, is newcomer there. I hear thee and rejoice. That means after long time he had heard this bird and he had rejoiced. That means he is now so happy. Thee is a very important thing you have to note down here. Thee, why he had used here thee? Because this word is going to be used several times in this poem. So thee means in Latin language, thee means you, thigh means yours, your. So here thee, thigh, thou. So that means when it is used as subject pronoun you, object pronoun you, thou, and then it's your, possessive pronoun your, thigh. O cuckoo, again there is sign of exclamation. O cuckoo, shall I call thee bird? O cuckoo, shall I call thee? Thee means you. Shall I call you a bird? Or but a wandering voice? Or shall I call you a bird or a wandering voice? Wandering means mobile, means moving voice. Whether you are a bird, simple bird, or you are a moving voice, because your voice, his voice had fascinated this poet so much that he's so that attractive towards this bird. So he's calling this bird a wandering voice. So I call you a bird or a wandering voice. While I am laying on the grass, when the poet is on laying on the grass, thigh to full shout I hear. When he is laying on the grass, when the poet is laying on the grass, he can hear twofold shout, means double shout. Why double shout? Because when we are in these mountains, when we are in plains, in hilly areas, this voice that come back when we call someone, the voice reflects from there. Due to that is due to scientific reason. That is why he is used here. He had used here twofold. That means he is able to, when he is laying on the grass, he is able to hear her voice twice. From hill to hill it seems to pass, because when he is in these mountains, so his voice, that voice of this cuckoo, that passes from hills to hills, at once far off and near. Sometimes this voice goes very far. Sometimes the voice of the cuckoo goes very far, and sometimes the voice is very near. Sometimes this voice is very near. So when this is when he is in the mountains, when he is on the grass, he can feel the voice of the cuckoo moving from hills to hills, passing through hills to hills, and sometimes it goes far, sometimes it is very near. So moving to next stanza, thou babbling only to the vale of sunshine and of flowers. Babbling means talking rapidly, because and continuously excited. Because when this cuckoo starts to they make his voice, so it make rapid sounds and continuous sounds. So he says that thou babbling only to the vale. Vale means valley. That means your voice is that repeatedly, continuously, moving in this valley of sunshine and of flowers. It is of sunshine and of flowers. So sometimes during sunshine, sometimes I feel that you are in flowers. Sometimes I feel that you are with sunshine. Sometimes I feel that your voice is with flowers. Thou bringest unto me a tale of visionary hours. So then when you speak, when you make this voice, so this makes me that I went into visionary hours. Visionary hours here mean bringest me into tale of a visionary hours. That means I went into this imaginary. So poet here goes into the imagination. So where he goes, where he started to imagine. What did he start to imagine? He started to imagine about the visionary hours. What is the visionary hours? Visionary hours means here he had referred visionary hours is the when he was in childhood. He was free. His mind was free. He was free to think. There was no that bounding. There was no contradictions on the poet, on his whatever he thinks, whatever he wants, he got there, and his mind was free from evils, his mind was free from ills and pains. So that is why he had used here this phrase visionary hours. So he went into this visionary hours when he heard this voice, babbling voice of this cuckoo. Thrice welcome, darling of the spring. So here he said that I welcome not once, but I welcome you for thrice. First, he welcomed that poet for coming into spring. Then, because he takes him to the visionary hours, that is why he welcome this bird. That is twice, and thrice because it's very beautiful. It's very beautiful, very close to him, to the poet. That is why he had said that thrice welcome, darling of, because it is the darling of the spring, because you came into this season, in this spring season. Even yet thou art to me. You are not just a bird, but you are art to me. You are art to me. That means you are something very creative, that something extraordinary thing for me. No bird, but an invisible thing. You are just not a bird, but you are invisible thing, which I cannot see you. A voice, a mystery. You are just a voice. You are a mystery. Sometimes poet feels that he wonder to see where this bird is, but he is only able to see, hear her music she produce, her tone this bird produce, but he is not able to see this bird. He is not able to see this invisible. That is why he had used the invisible things. It's only a voice, a mystery. You are a mystery. You are a secret. The same. This is the 5th stanza. The same home in my schoolboy days I listened to that cry. You are the same bird. When I was a schoolboy, that means where he again refer here that when he was a schoolboy, he loved this bird. At that time, he loved this bird, and now still when he is in this age, still he loves this bird with the same enthusiasm. The same home in my schoolboy days, I listened to that cry, which made me look 1,000 ways in bush and tree and sky. Because this bird is invisible, he was not able to see this bird, but he was able to hear her voice, hear his voice, and he was wondering here and there. He was so enthusiastic to see where this bird is, but he was not able to see. He went into bushes, he went to trees, he looked into trees, he looked into the skies, but he did not find this bird anywhere. Only his voice. He was only able to hear his voice. That is why he had used here that you are invisible, you are not seen, you are a mystery, you are just a voice. To seek thee did I often rove. To seek thee, that means to search you, did I often rove. I aimlessly, rove means aimlessly move here and there to seek you, to search you. I went here and there so that I could find where this bird is, what type of this bird is. But through woods and on the green, not only here and there, I went into the woods to search you. Where are you? Into forest, where are you? And on the green means in the pastures, in the plains, I went there to search you. Where are you? And thou rat, still a hope, and still you exist. Rat means you exist. It doesn't mean that you did not exist. Poet was not able to see this bird, but it does not mean that bird does not exist. There is only his voice, but no, there is existence of the bird. And thou rat, that means you exist, still a hope, but you are a hope. You are still a hope, you are a love, still longed for, never seen. Still longed for, but for a long time I never see you, but you are a hope, you are a love. You still exist in form of love, in form of hope, and but for long time I never see you. And I can listen to thee yet. And now still he can listen. The poet can listen this this bird, yet can lie upon the plain and listen till I do beget. That golden time again, when he lay down on this green pasture, green ground, then can lie upon the plain and listen. I try to listen till I do beget. That means still I bring forth those memories of this bird when he used to sing those songs. When this bird sings this beautiful song, beautiful his voice, beautiful voice, that golden time again. So he brings forth that golden time in his memories, in his imagination. He just closes his eyes and he is able to see. He is able to see this bird, because he loves that bird so much. That is why he is fallen in love with this bird. So he closed, when he is laying on the plain, he closed his eyes. Here it also shows that in this beautiful place, when he went out in this beautiful place, there is a green allwhere, there is a plain allwhere, but it is such a beautiful. But here he had referred that this you are much beautifuler, much more beautiful than this plain, because in these plains I still remember you. In this beautiful that scenery, there is beautiful scenery around this poet, but still he loves that bird cuckoo. That means he compared this bird, you are much beautiful, you are much more beautiful than this beautiful scenery around me. Oh blessed bird. Now he in this line he said that you are a blessed bird. The earth we pace again appears to be an unsubstantial. The earth we pace, that this earth on which we live, which is full of sins, but by your appearance it is an unsubstantial. It becomes pure, it becomes pious, fairy place, it becomes imaginary, that is fit home for thee. That is fit home for thee. That is fit home for you. So here the poet referred this bird a blessed bird, because by your voice, by your music you produced, by your song you sing, this earth, that means sinful earth, become a pious and unsubstantial imaginary earth, and imaginary. So this was the poem. So if we look at this summary of this poem, To the Cuckoo by Wordsworth is a poem of joy and happy memories. The little songbird cuckoo comes to England in early spring. Wordsworth hears twofold shout of the cuckoo and looks around, but the bird is nowhere to seen. He rejoices to hear the old familiar cry of joy that passes from hill to hill. It casts a spell over him, and he is back in his childhood. It was the period of joy, wonder, and innocence. In those days, the song of the cuckoo fascinated him. He wandered through greens and woods to catch the glimpse of the bird. He looked for the cuckoo in trees, bushes, and in the open skies, but it was never seen by the poet. Even now, when he is hearing to talk to be belly, I cannot see it. He wonders whether this is a real bird or only a wandering voice. This wandering voice still makes him forget everything and enter the world of imagination. World of imagination. The everyday world turns into a fairyland, and he becomes a child once again, full of joy and wonder. This poem is an address of welcome to the cuckoo which comes to England in spring, because he welcomes here this bird cuckoo in England, because this is during this season, during this spring season, this bird migrate to this country, and this poet William Wordsworth praised this poet. The song of the bird brings to the mind of the poet the memories of childhood when he was a boy. He heard the cry of the cuckoo, but he could never see it. It seemed to him invisible. In these lines, the poet calls the cuckoo a fortunate bird because he loves to listen to this song. When he was a boy, the earth seemed to him unreal. Now, when he is grown up, to the earth once again appears to him as unreal. This unreal earth, the poet says, is a proper place for the invisible bird to live on. Now we will discuss some of the poetic devices which had been used in this poem. For example, we had come to when we come to this poem, there are 8 stanzas, but there were so many poetic devices which had been used in this poem, but we will discuss some of them. First is alliteration. Alliteration is when, what is alliteration? When the first consonant sound is repeated. For example, wandering voice, w and voice. Here, this is alliteration which had been used. Hill to hill, h and h, her and her sound had been repeated in these 2 words. Blessed bird, b and b had been repeated. Then what is the rhyme scheme? To the Cuckoo is a poem consisting of 8 stanzas, each being a quatrain that is consisting of 4 lines. When there is 4 line stanza, that means it's a quatrain. A rhyme scheme of the poem is AB, AB is followed throughout the poem. So what is the rhyme scheme? That is AB, AB. That means first line rhymes with third, and second second verse rhymes with the 4th verse. So this is the rhyme scheme of the poem. Now hyperbole, this is also one of the poetic device which had been used by the poet. Wordsworth makes use of exaggeration in this poem to focus on certain aspects of the cuckoo and nature. The earth is called an unsubstantial fairy place. This is to create an image of a mystical place, and also to add mystery to the cuckoo, who has never been seen by the poet in actually. So when these mystical words are used, that is hyperbole. And there are some rhetorical questions which had been used in this poem. What are rhetorical questions? When questions are not used that asked for the purpose of answer, but to talk about something, tell about something, right? There are so many imageries which had been used, so many images which had been used in this poem. So you might have also seen that there are some images which we use, like this cuckoo is sitting, a person is laying on the plains, and these are woods, greens, and schoolboy, voice of the cuckoo. That is also a imagery. Let's discuss some of these questions from this your textbook. First question is, how does the poet address to the cuckoo in the beginning of the poem, and why does he do so? The poet William Wordsworth addressed cuckoo as blithe newcomer. In the beginning of the poem, he calls it a newcomer because its song captivates and moves him to supreme spiritual joy, and newcomer because it comes into the season of the spring. So blithe because it is a cheerful bird. Why does the poet choose to call the cuckoo a wandering voice? The poet is lying on the grass. When the poet is lying on the grass, he hears the cuckoo's twofold short. Sometimes it goes far off, at other time it comes too near. He calls the cuckoo a wandering voice because it wanders from hill to hill. What does the cuckoo bring to the poet? The cuckoo sings its song to the sunny and flowery valley. It moves the poet a supreme spiritual joy. It transports him to a land of bliss. It revives the memory of visionary hours. Describe the various ways in which the poet addressed the cuckoo in the poem. So, how he addressed this this bird cuckoo in the poem. The poet addressed the cuckoo in the following various ways. In the first stanza, he calls it a blithe newcomer and a wandering voice. Then he calls it a darling of the spring, an invisible thing of a voice, a mystery. Last of all, he calls it a blessed birds. So, nature is a great teacher. Can you elaborate this? What does it mean? Wordsworth felt that nature leads one from joy to joy. He believed that nature was a living being. For him, nature was a supreme spirit. Its sole purpose was to delight and teach human beings. There is a mystic bond between nature and man. Nature reflects his own mood. He also saw hearing power in nature. Nature to Wordsworth was everything. Nature never betrays the heart that loves it. In next session, we will discuss some of its that language work, some other exercise. So, thank you very much for watching today.